Hello, everyone. I wanted to hop on and talk today about income levels and relationships. My lovely co-host Afsha is not here to join us today. We've had to postpone the session, but I wanted to share a couple of thoughts after working for almost 6 years with moms in STEM and STEAM fields. Income levels are one of the first things that moms are really concerned about once they discover they are pregnant and going on maternity leave. It's such an exciting time of your life because you are celebrating new life, but there's also so many adjustments and so much planning that needs to happen, right? Let me introduce myself. My name is Kinia Romanovska. I am the CEO and founder of Pros and Babes, where careers and families grow together. And I'm a mom of two boys, 5 and 3, actually going on 6 and 4. It's hard to believe that. And I'm the host of a program called the Mom BA program, where with moms from STEM and STEAM fields, we engage in professional development for a period of 12 months, and we cover 12 pillars, and one of them being money. The key pillars that we cover are mindset, relationships, career life integration, finances, career skills, health, and more. But today's topic is income levels. Do they matter in relationships? So that's the intersection of relationships and finances, right? And what I want to provide as perspective for you today is really an avenue and a structure for a reflection when it comes to your mindset about money and income levels in a relationship. And in my case, we're going to assume that we're talking about people who are raising a family or who want to raise a family and who are juggling careers. So I don't I don't have necessarily a straightforward answer for you as to income levels. Do they matter in a relationship? I mean, most people would say yes, right? There's power dynamics and freedom pieces that are involved there. There's control, there's quality of life, right? There's so many factors that play into this conversation. But the starting point for me, as I talked about motherhood and career, to give you some context, when I was pregnant with my first son, I realized that there wasn't much space for discussion about career and motherhood integration, and I decided to launch a short curriculum and an opportunity for mothers to get together and talk about their career and their family life and their transition to work after maternity leave. And in time, this became my full-time occupation. I saw that there was really a gap where we didn't have those discussions, and moms were asking me to continue running the programming. Fast forward almost 6 years in, I run this Mom BA program. I do training and consulting with companies on helping them to support parents through their caregiving transitions, really around the decade of their of when they start having children, right? So one of the first things that came up when I started studying moms and careers is a term called the motherhood penalty, which are the financial, emotional, physical consequences and career consequences that happen when you have children. And a component of that I came across was the $1 million wealth gap, right? So women tend to earn $1 million less than men over the lifetime. And they tend to spend about 40% of their adult life out of the workforce. We retire earlier, we live longer, we take more time out of work for caregiving duties. So the question that we are exploring today, do income levels matter in relationships? Well, if you take a statistic like that, yes, right? I think any woman listening to this statistic who hasn't done any comprehensive financial planning for her family life, and of course it's a complex topic because we may want children, we may become pregnant, but none of this is a certainty. And there's a lot of mystery when it comes to having a child and how we will adjust and react, and whether we will want to work after that, right? And how much money we're going to earn. So, the first short answer to the question is, do income levels matter in a relationship? Well, certainly they impact people's quality of life, partners' quality of life, women's quality of life. And the next question is, well, what do we do about it? Do you care about the $1 million wealth gap? For some women, it's not that important. For others, it is quite important to consider it, right? So if you are concerned about the $1 million wealth gap, here's what I've learned in a couple of years of working with hundreds of moms, right, and running workshops and working at a high level and also in depth with moms. The number one step is to really form your opinion on the matter. Do you care about the $1 million wealth gap? Do you think you're going to be affected by it? You can research the topic and talk about it with your partner, right? And that's a good conversation starter for your financial plan, because when we talk with moms and I ask them, how much money do you want to have in your bank account at a certain time? Many of them have a hard time answering the question. They have a hard time writing 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. There's often shame in women in talking about money and wanting to build wealth, right? So the first step for you, I think, is to consider what are your reactions to the $1 million wealth gap statistic, whether you feel that you are affected by it, and then what do you want to do about it? And actually, how much money do you want to have and what does it mean to you? This discussion opens up so much about values, about vision, about what matters to you in life, about different financial tools that may be available to offset this $1 million wealth gap. Or a more positive way to look at it is, what do you actually want to build in your life? What is your rich life? What are your, what are your goals as a family? And when you become a mother, a lot of that can change. It can really, your values change. How you feel energetically changes. How you feel in a relationship to your career may change, for the better or for the worse. You may find a deeper sense of purpose in what you do. So the number one thing I would like to ask you to do, if you're watching this recording now or at a later time, is write down, what is your reaction to when I mentioned the $1 million wealth gap? Do you think you're affected? Should you talk about it with your partner? Have you talked about it with your partner? How does your wealth plan account for your different career cycles, right? And your different peaks in your career cycles? These are the foundational questions that are worth answering when you discuss the question, do income levels matter in relationships? Do they matter for STEM and STEAM moms? We know that 43% of STEM moms leave full-time work after having kids, right? They leave full-time STEM work. That's the statistics from the United States. In my practice on the ground, I see that depending on the employer, depending on the situation with the partner, depending on the drive, that statistic can vary. But we know that if you've had a demanding career before kids, it can become very different after kids, right? So I want to keep this talk short and sweet for today, but let me know in the comments, have you considered whether you are affected by the $1 million wealth gap? Have you discussed what your rich life looks like and what are your lifestyle goals with your, with your family and what you want to achieve, right? How are you going to balance your passions and your couple in terms of who's going to work and when, who may or may not take parental leave if that's that season of your life? Do you need a professional to support you on your journey? So that's why in the Mommy program, we work with someone like Afsha to help discuss all of these questions over time. It can take people 1, 2, 3 years before they actually start having the confidence, the data, and the mental space to really make progress on their financial plan and look at their income levels and what their strategy will be for career advancement, income advancement, wealth building, right? So thank you so much for tuning into the session today. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that it gives you a framework to reflect on your income levels in your relationships, and do they matter to you? It does start with a conversation. It does start with you answering the question for yourself. Do they matter in my relationship, right? Who brings income to the table? How much? How do we share our finances? Do we keep our accounts joint or separate? What are our goals together? What are our values? How were we taught to talk or not talk about money? All of those pieces, right? So let me know if this was useful. I also have worksheets. I have other trainings on the topic, and hopefully I will be able to bring Afsha to you to discuss income levels and relationships from a financial planner's perspective. I shared the perspective of a mom, of an entrepreneur, of somebody who has worked with STEM and STEAM moms. And I always invite people who come into my environment to think about what matters to them. So do you think that income levels matter in your relationship, and why? And what are you going to do about it? And are you going to have more frequent discussions about it? Okay. Thank you. Bye.